Good afternoon. My name is Adam Lau, and I'm the director of the Upward Bound program at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, as well as the director of the Teaching Through Technology T3 Alaska program. I'm also the past president of the Alaska Association of TRIO Professionals. It's my great pleasure to preside over this session. I'm pleased to introduce Sydney Lincoln, an Upward Bound participant from Bethel Regional High School in Bethel, Alaska, the hometown of Congresswoman Mary Peltola and our next speaker. Sydney is here in Washington, D.C. with 3 other Upward Bound students, right over here. Yesterday, they gave a presentation at the Office of Naval Research. Last April, Sydney joined me in Puerto Rico for our seismology and energy trip where we gave a presentation to several groups of Upward Bound students. Please join me in welcoming Sydney Lincoln to the podium.
Aipa unanilani jali. Anakashu agnagayawuk damakmuknunakayok mirut. Goyana Jaknak. I introduce myself in my native language. I am Sydney Lincoln. I'm proud to be here in Washington, D.C. with all of you. Introducing my Congresswoman Mary Peltola. She is at-large She is the at-large representative for the state of Alaska. We are both from my hometown, Bethel, Alaska. And we both are Yupik Alaska native. Bethel is a town of 6,400 people located on the Kuskokwim River in southwestern Alaska. We are the main hub for our region, which has over 50 remote villages, including my family's village, Tuksuk Bay. This area has been the homeland of the Yupik people and their ancestors for thousands of years. We continue to practice our traditional ways of life by speaking our language, practicing Yuraking, which is our traditional drumming and dancing, and of course, hunting, bear picking, and fishing to feed our communities. The Yupik name of Bethel is called Mamterechak, which means place of many storehouses, referring to the bountiful fish the region provides us. Fish and fishing are important parts of Yupik history, culture, and the Congresswoman's life. She was only 6 years old when she began fishing commercially with her father on the Kuskokwim River. Later, as the executive director of Kuskokwim River Intertribal Fish Commission, she mobilized 118 tribes and rural Alaska to advocate the protection of salmon runs in western Alaska. The Congresswoman studied elementary education at the University of Northern Colorado and later took classes at University of Alaska. She was only 24 years old when she won first state election to the Alaska State Legislature. She served on the Bethel Council and as a tribal judge on the Urutsagamute Native Council Tribal Court. In 2022, Congresswoman Peltola became the first Alaska Native woman elected to the U.S. Congress. She is a trailblazer and a role model for students like me across Alaska and all over the world. Please join me welcoming my Congresswoman, Mary Peltola.
Guyana, Sydney. I know Sydney's grandparents. I asked her if she's Kelly's girl, and she said, no, that's my grandma. I grew up with Kelly, so no, I feel young, but I'm often reminded that I'm not that young anymore. It's really good to be with you. Like Sydney said, I'm a Gothak. I'm from Bethel. I am really, really happy to be here, and I'm really thankful for all of the work that you all do in this room. It's just so important. I am going to read the speech. I'm not a huge fan of reading speeches, but there's things in here that I don't want to miss. So I'm really hoping that together, continuously, we can continue to break down barriers for young people from all backgrounds, from all different kinds of homes that have strengths and weaknesses, that have advantages and disadvantages. We need all of these people in our universities. We need all of these people in every sector of American economy, every sector of nonprofit work. Breaking down the barriers to access to education is so important in America and in Alaska. It's important that we build an education system that welcomes and encourages first-time college students, not just for those students, but for the whole of our nation's academics. Higher education thrives when students encounter many worldviews and perspectives. Diversity of thought is critical to a complete educational experience. As it is, there are a lot of stories that are not told in our nation's colleges and universities. For instance, you don't often hear stories like mine. Bethel is in western Alaska, and like most of Alaska, my hometown is not accessible by roads. My mom, Bichikak Lizan, was the first person in her family to graduate from high school. She graduated from Chemawa Indian School in Oregon. She was one of the first in her family to be able to read and write. She was able to do this because of public schools, because her grandparents and her parents really understood how important it is to have education. Our kind of education and your kind of education, every kind of education, it's all important for success. I also went to school, public schools, in Bethel and along the Kuskokwim River. And after that, I was able to go to college where I studied to be an elementary school teacher. I planned on becoming a teacher because I wanted to give back to my community to help foster the next generation. My dad was a school teacher, and so was his mom. He taught high school in Alaska, and she taught elementary school in Nebraska. Both of them taught in one-room schoolhouses. When we lived in Platinum, Alaska, a very small village on the Bering Sea, he taught every subject in every grade of that high school. I think his favorite was teaching band. We all learned how to play an instrument. Teachers, in my opinion, really exemplify public service. And I think that's why I was drawn to it as an early career idea, because you really see how important one person is. You really feel the impact of one person. And I think as many of you, not a mic drop, a glass bottle drop. But many of you also deeply, deeply understand that feeling of the power of one person. My dad taught school first in Fort Yukon alongside Congressman, then just Don Young. He became the Congressman for all Alaska, and he served our state for 49 years, and he was a fourth grade teacher. He passed away in 2022, this is like the second year anniversary. He passed away on March 18th, 2022. So it's just been 2 years since we lost him. I succeeded Congressman Young to become the first Alaska Native in Congress. I think the best part of it is being able to be a part of events like this, where I can share a perspective that hasn't been shared from a congressional seat before. That really is a tremendous feeling. And I can share how in a small village or a small community, civics is just a normal part of day-to-day life, and engaging in community decision-making is a necessity for everyone. I can share that Alaskans have lived on fish for thousands of years, and in order to keep our fish healthy, we need to listen to people and tribes who have lived on Alaska's waterways for generations and generations. And extremely relevant to our discussion today, I can also share that access to good education is an issue made even harder when a large portion of our state doesn't have access to internet. I think that these perspectives bring value to the country in the same way that first-generation college students bring value to a university class and community. I was told that the title of this speech is What Washington, D.C. Can Learn from Alaska. Well, first and foremost, Alaska has taught me that bringing more people to the table benefits everyone. But let's also not pretend that Alaska has nothing to learn. A lack of resources in our education system means that many Alaskans who want to stay in-state are forced to leave. Young teachers, new parents, and all those who benefit from a robust education at the K-12 and post-secondary levels are leaving the state. Our brain drain is an issue that rural states across the country are struggling with, but we feel it more acutely than in the lower 48. It's especially hard for Alaskan students to learn because they're coming to school hungry and tired. For many children, school meals are now their main nutrition source. The school in Kotzebue, for example, it's a hub of 400, no, they're thousands of people, but they're 400 miles north of my hometown. This year, they'll run $1 million deficit because the school prioritizes their nutritional programs of providing lunch and breakfast. They've sacrificed their pre-K curriculum. They've sacrificed their pre-K programs in order to make sure that they're feeding breakfast and lunch to their students because they know that's one of the #1 reasons kids come to their school. And they also know that kids don't learn when they're hungry. So this is just one of the trade-offs that they've made. Food insecurity is a problem across the country, but we can see its impact most clearly and most painfully in our schools. There's also a growing body of research showing that one of the best predictors of educational achievement is children knowing that there are adults that care for them. I'm inspired by TRIO's membership programs that give students understanding that there really are adults who are willing to support them. It's critical we identify barriers for students who are below the federal poverty line, first-generation college students, and students receiving disability services. Then we can better help develop degree pathways to set students up for success on all fronts, like financial assistance, literacy, and life skills they can take to college or trade school or beyond. The TRIO program truly creates an ecosystem where students can succeed when given the opportunity. I'm hopeful for all the lessons that are shared and passed on at this summit, and I'm very grateful to be able to be part of the brainstorm to include more worldviews for the benefit of all students in our education system. And I really want to thank each of you that's involved in this program and giving hope to our students, really investing in this new generation. I can't thank you enough, Adam, for all the work that you've done along the Kuskokwim, in the entire state. I mean, you, I think, are a very good example of the power of one. I think of the multiplier effect that you've had on so many students, and then their siblings and their cousins, and eventually their friends' grandkids. And so I just really want to thank each of you individually for all the work that you do. Goyana Chaknachbak.
Okay, folks, please join me in another round of applause for Congresswoman Mary Peltola. Congresswoman has another engagement to get to and is unable to take questions. However, we just want you to know how honored we are to have you spend this time with us. Thank you for your thought-provoking.
If you want to ask a question, you can.
If I want to ask a question? Okay. So here's my honest question, and those of you who know me know that I love to figure out ways to help the federal government find all the ways to support that Department of Education trio band. I know there's a lot of money. So what recommendations would you share to help us be relevant to the other things? You mentioned internet in places, and I know there's a lot of areas of the government that are looking towards how do I increase capacity of the workforce that we have in our country. And as these guys get ready to go and talk to senators and representatives, are there any words of advice you have to say for that?
Yeah, I personally think personal stories are the best, narratives. Everybody is motivated by stories, and also people they know. I mean, if you're talking with your congressperson or senator, I think it's important for them to understand how you're connected to them. I mean, I think one of the things that Alaskans are acutely aware of that I'm realizing isn't really a common theme throughout America is we're all connected, we're all related. Anything good that happens to one group is good for everybody. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's see, where are my notes I had up here? It's basically, oh.
Hello. Can I just share a quick story? It's related to you. My name is Brian Post. I'm the director of an Upward Bound program at State University of New York in Plattsburgh, New York, which is the northeast corner of New York State, sort of near Canada. So why am I talking to you? I just recently reconnected with one of my Upward Bound alums to nominate her for an Achiever Award. She's from a very small school, one of our smallest schools we serve, and she went to college locally and then got her doctorate in pharmacology, and she is a pharmacist. She had a choice to work at Walgreens or CVS or some of the big pharmacy chains, but she did a clinical in a small little town called Bethel, Alaska, and decided to stay. And she works at the Kuskokwim Health Center, and I just recently learned of this within the past 6 months, and she just sent me pictures 2 days ago of the dog sled race. And so we are all connected, and you just never know.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you, Representative Peltola. We so appreciate it. At this time, we ask everyone remain seated, and we move to our next session to review our Capitol Hill talking points. Thank you, Mary.